So when you asked me to do this podcast, I know I was reluctant, didn't really want to do it because there's so many podcasts out there, so many different things people are talking about. But this particular topic is one that I am very interested in because I know a lot of people want to know about it. And it's the truth behind business partnerships and what really happens and how does things go. And just a lot of advice, tips, and just insight, stories, and things with business partnerships. We've been partners now for 10 years with the only 24-hour boxing gym in Texas and probably potentially the country. And we both have also been owners of other companies. I knew if I did a podcast that I wanted to be on a podcast that was something that people wanted to know about, but also something that people are not talking about. And business partnerships are kind of like a marriage. It's something that's a taboo topic that people don't like to share information, but it's very personal, very touchy, and it's very impactful in a lot of people's lives. So without any further ado, I say I know we got a few questions for each other that that people want to know about. So
For sure, right? The ugly truth, right? Like you said, having a business partner, I think for sure it is a marriage. It's probably a little bit worse than a marriage because you're talking about money, you're talking about different cultures, you're talking about a lot of mixture of things. Obviously, we've been talking about this for a very, very, very long time. Doing something like this, I think is very special. Me and you have a lot of history. We literally built sweat boxing from the ground up. It is different building a company that literally means nothing, the brand, the name, literally from the ground up, to building it to where people recognize it, not just locally, but now internationally. Like, that means a lot. And what we went through, what we suffered, the high, the lows, when we were calling each other, like stressing out, how are we going to pay rent? How are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? I mean, I remember like, hey, how are we going to
get through COVID?
COVID. I mean, prior to COVID, like how are we going to eat? Like, there's so much stuff that goes behind the scenes that you have to sacrifice that people don't realize on top of having a relationship. And there's so much that goes behind the scenes that people don't know. Obviously, you're, very successful within your own businesses on top of Sweat. I have my own thing on top of Sweat, but we merge together and we do really, really well, and we're really opposite. And I think people are very intrigued. I think we do have a lot of people that love us and like what we do, and I think we have a lot of people that hate us.
I don't know about that.
Oh no, I know.
Possible.
It's possible. It's part of life, right? And then it goes with anybody. But at the end of the day, everybody's interested, and that's why we're here. But with further ado, we'll start. Before we do, we definitely have to thank our sponsors, because without them, we couldn't do what we do, helping us not only here at the gym with my boxing promotion and everything we do. Jay, Alexander Law, always been there since day one. We got to thank them. City Chiro Sports Center, best chiropractic for sports recovery in Irving. We got to thank them. So I guess we'll start. And
I got a question for you.
Oh, you want to just go from there?
Hey, I'll start it off. Why not?
Let's go.
The people want to know. So,
come on, bring it.
My question is, how has your background as a professional athlete helped you as an entrepreneur?
So
first of all, for those that don't know who you are, what you do, what you've done, I mean, who is Hector Vasquez? When did you start boxing? Because that's the sport that you are a professional athlete in, and you've made it to some of the highest levels in the game. So what is your background, and how has that background helped you as an entrepreneur?
So,
did you even think you were going to be an entrepreneur?
Yes, no, maybe. My whole life has been revolved around boxing. It's been a long time. I'm 34 years old. I started boxing when I was 8 years old.
Damn.
Yeah. So 25, 26 plus years in the business. Started at 8. At age 9 and a half, I was already ranked number 2 in the United States. By age 10, I was ranked number 1. So from age 10 to age 16, 17, I was ranked either number 1 or number 2 in the USA and in Mexico. So since I was so young, I was literally
Age what?
Since age 10.
So age 10, you were number one ranked amateur in the United States and Mexico.
And Mexico. Okay. So I was a superior athlete since age 10 to about 16, 17. So since then, I've trained like a monster, like a professional athlete at that young age. My whole life was around. I didn't have a childhood. I didn't go to parties. I didn't drink. I didn't have friends. Literally, my life was eat, box, sleep, go to school. That's it. Nothing else. So my whole life was boxing. Like literally, I knew I was going to become a world champion. I was going to go to the Olympics, become world champion, famous, make millions of dollars, and retire. Right? That's I knew that every day. That's all I did. Go sleep take a shower, sleep at night, pray. That's what I was going to do. Mm-hmm. Obviously, things changed in life towards the end. Once I turned 16, I qualified for the Olympics. At 16, I was the youngest to go to. My birthday was July 16th, and I would turn 18 right at the Olympic age in 2008. So I could qualify for the Olympics, but the qualifying was in 06, so I was 16 qualifying. So I was super, super young. I was younger than everybody else. I made it. I got second place to represent Mexico in the 2008 Olympics. So after that, everybody wanted me to stay for the 2012.
Right.
I was already burnt out. I was tired. I'm like, man, I've been doing this since I was 8. I was been the best. And I tell you, people that you know now, and I don't like to brag.
What grade is that?
I don't know. I missed my last 2 years in high school. I missed like my sophomore and my sophomore, junior, and senior year of high school. I missed pretty much the whole school. I wasn't even in school. I was internationally. I was in Russia. I was in Azerbaijan. I was all over the United States, all over Mexico, just flying everywhere fighting. So doing all that, I got burnt out, man. I had over 260 something fights, amateur fights. So, and that's not me exaggerating, right? A lot of fighters exaggerate how many fights they did. No, I had 37 losses. I remember my losses. Wins was 236, 237. I don't remember. And I fought everybody. All the world champions that you see now, or former world champions, Earl Spence, Adrian Broner, all of them, I fought them. And I don't talk about it. I don't care. I don't need nobody's name or clout. I fought them. I beat them all. But
in the amateurs, yeah.
In the amateurs, of course. And that's neither here nor there. Obviously, it wasn't my calling for whatever reason. I went pro. I won 13 fights. I broke my hand. When I was in the time coming, it wasn't meant to be. So I retired. That's when me and you decided to open. Towards the end of my career, we opened Sweat Boxing, and that's when everything started evolving to becoming an entrepreneur and evolving to where we are now today.
Right.
So,
since we're on the topic, I know you're gonna have questions for me, but I got some more. So we've owned the gym now for 10 years. This is our second location that we moved into, and a bigger and better location here in Irving, Texas. But, you always hear about in business, diversify. You hear about, multiple streams of income, so on and so forth. And in the age of the internet, there's so many different ways people are trying to make money. I know you are a fighter, and you become business owner, you run in the gym, all of that. However, now you're also a promoter. Some people just know you as a promoter. Some people don't even know your history as a fighter. But now that you're a promoter, why did you start HVE Promotions? Why did you get into being a promoter? Like, how was the transition? Why are you doing that?
Well, obviously, being in boxing such a young age, knowing it from the ground up, every step in the way, from the amateur ranks to the highest level, going to the pros, understanding everything, it only made sense, right? It made sense to evolve to that level. Mm-hmm. Thankfully, I had an opportunity with Mikey Garcia. Seferino Ramirez gave me an opportunity to run their promotion. So Mikey Garcia from California came to Texas. They were like, hey, we're doing our promotion. We need a guy from Texas to run our shows. I did all Mikey Garcia's shows. And literally, that's how I learned.
What does a promoter even do?
A lot.
When people think promoter, they think people like Dana White and Don King and stuff. What does a promoter do? What's the job of a promoter? How does somebody become a promoter in the first place?
I mean, depending on what kind of promoter they are. I mean, a good promoter knows what they're doing, and if you know what you're doing is you got to evaluate the talent. You got to understand, okay, who are good fighters that are entertaining. That's number one. Mm-hmm. Two, who sells, right? Because that's the number one also rule. Okay, these fighters sell. They bring people to come see the event, right? These people come to watch fights, drink, and eat.
Ooh. So, it just hit me right now. I'm just thinking about it. I think a lot of people might want to know. What matters more, whether the fighter can sell tickets or if they're a good fighter? Like if they're talent, does the talent of the fighter matter more? Because there's people that come into the gym and like, I can fight, and they're really talented, they're athletic, they've been training, but they don't know anybody, they don't have no fans, they didn't fight amateurs, their family's not even supporting them, this is like a last resort. What matters more, how talented the fighter is or how many tickets they can sell?
Business? How many tickets they can sell?
So it doesn't matter how good they are as a fighter.
I'll let you know. I mean, you tell me. So you tell me you put.
No, you tell me.
So let me put it this way. You put $50,000 on the line. You're the promoter. You put $50,000 on the line. Okay. And you got one fighter. He sells $10,000 worth of tickets. Yeah. Or you have another fighter that sells $10 worth of ticket. Who do you want?
Jake Paul. No, I'm just playing. I want the guy who sells tickets.
Exactly.
Right.
Whether they talented or not, right? Mm-hmm. That's how it goes. That's why you'll see some fighters that are not talented, but they have a good following, right? For whatever reason they have it, whether they're hated, they're loved, or they have a big YouTube following or social media following, but that's how the world revolves. Yeah. It's who comes to see them. Yeah. And unfortunately, that's the way it works, right?
It's not how the fans always look at it.
I mean, of course not, right?
They want to see who's the most talented fighter.
No, you're talking about the purists. That's the purists, right? Of anything in life, right? In any sport, the purists that truly love the sport, they want to see talent. But people, they buy a product. They want to get entertained, right? Well, they want to see a certain thing, right? So they're there to see whoever they're there to see. So as a promoter that are spending the money, because at the end of the day, I'm spending the money. In an event, it costs me $40,000, $50,000.
And you make your money off the ticket and alcohol.
Yeah, unless I have a TV deal, right? And if I don't have a TV deal, then I am literally solely banking on the ticket sales. And that's where the bottom line comes down to, and that's where these fighters have to understand that if they don't sell or if they don't promote themselves, I lose money. Mm. So if I lose money, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Like, if I lose money...
Ultimately, you want the fans to get what they want to see, but at the same time, there's not a promotion if you're not making any money.
Oh, I mean, at least break even.
Right. Yeah. So,
or even if I lose a little bit of money...
So, ticket sales over talent, technically.
I mean, to a certain extent. Right? I want entertainment. I'm a big boxing fan. I want entertainment. I've lost money. I lose money. Mm. I won't even tell you. I mean, I can tell you.
We'll go into that because I'm gonna ask you. But since we're talking about the industry and everything, what is the difference between a promoter and a manager?
Well, like I said, a promoter is the one that puts on the event, right? He promotes the event. He puts on the event. He brings the money. He puts the money for the event. He pays everybody. A manager manages the individual fighter or fighters, right? He's a middleman between the fighter and the promoter. The promoter is the one that pays the bill. The manager is the one that negotiates the deal between the fighter and the promoter.
Can they be the same?
No. That's the Muhammad Ali Act. That's illegal.
Okay. So the promoter and the manager can't be the same person?
No, that's illegal. Now, there's a bypass, right? You bypass it by being an advisor. Which...
Advisor?
That's another story.
Get into that. Yeah.
We can get into that, Yeah.
So, what would you say I don't know, you don't have to give a specific number, but you've been promoting for how long now?
Altogether, probably since 2018, 18.
And we're going in 2025 right now on this podcast. How much would you say that you have invested in this, and how much have you potentially lost in your journey in this whole world of promotion?
What makes you
and
think?
Then most importantly, because I mean, if you just started doing it, I would have said, I don't know if you were profitable right out the gate, or if this is, has been ups and downs to it. Like, how is it being a promoter? Is it something you recommend anybody else to do? What's the goal?
Look, that's a hard number. I've gone over the numbers recently. I'm guesstimation accuracy. I'm probably right at like 1.5 mil ish.
I don't want to get you in trouble.
I'm like 1.5 mil ish.
Yeah. What, that you made or lost?
I mean, I've put in.
Into the promotion?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm probably invested.
Yeah.
Probably like 495.
495,000. Invested?
Invested.
Oh, that you lost.
Invested.
That's what the thumbs down. Okay. All right.
So you gotta understand what I'm saying. Like boxing is my passion, right? Like this is not a joke. That's why it's the difference between me and any other promoter, locally, small or whatever. Like I mean business. I work hard for what I do, and if you go to any of my shows, you see what I'm about. Like I do the best. People are happy and satisfied with what I do. Now, it's every event. It costs money. It's expensive. Like one event costs $50,000.
What's the goal?
My end goal is to bring boxing to where it has been in the past, right? Give a platform for these fighters and talented. Obviously, for me, I want to be profitable where I can sustain a living, even if I break even and make a little bit of money, where I can have a great team, because I have a great team, where I can pay them, because I'm already paying them. They're okay. Where I can at least make a living, but I can be constant making 8-10 shows a year, right? That'd be great. And what it does is these great talented fighters, what we have in this area, well, they're going to keep growing. Obviously, I want a TV deal. That's the number one thing, getting that TV deal. But now what's happening is there's no more TV deals because there's so many streaming services, that's happening. So it's hurting all the TV deals. So you got Hulu, you got Netflix, you got DAZN, you have this and that. So they're all competing against each other. So now everybody's losing. You got Top Rank. Top Rank is moving to DAZN now. So ESPN's gone out the window. So I don't know if ESPN is going to get a boxing show. So now I'm trying to figure out how I can get in the door with ESPN. If ESPN gets a boxing deal, right? Because ESPN right now has only UFC since Top Rank is gone. I mean, there's so many avenues, right, that you got to fight. Everybody's fighting for a piece of the pie. So
you trying to make boxing great again. What do you look for in a fighter? If you're gonna put somebody on your card, is that how it works? As the promoter, are you the matchmaker?
I'm the promoter, I obviously have my team, matchmake, promoter, all that, right?
Right.
Obviously, there's a lot of intangibles when it comes to a fighter. Obviously, we want a fighter that can sell.
That's most important.
Of course. They want to sell tickets, right? But obviously, we want a fighter that has charisma, right? Whether they're on social.
How do you know if a fighter? I'm not even gonna cut you off. But how do you know if a fighter can sell tickets?
You don't. You got people. Trust me. All fighters, coaches, their dads, their moms, their grandmas, their grandpas. They sell. And I'm like,
we're going into 2025. Internet, social media, all that. Mm-hmm. Do you look at do you see how many followers they have?
I see everything.
Do you all that goes into consideration?
Everything goes into consideration.
Of whether or not they can sell tickets.
Well, I mean,
you look at how many tickets they sold in their last fight. Is this a
debut? Yeah, of course. Everything goes into consideration.
What is enough? How many tickets does someone, if somebody wanted to fight on HVE Promotions, and your card, Hector Vasquez, promoting here in Dallas Fort Worth.
Flip a coin.
To what?
Flip a coin. Like, look, there's certain fighters I'm trying to be as fair as possible. I want to give every single fighter an opportunity. Definitely that's locally. It has to make sense for me, right? If you're a local fighter, and if I do a show in Dallas, I want to put every fighter, Dallas, Fort Worth, Irving, Louisville. Well, if you're in the area, I want to put you in there, right? But you got to understand, if you're a fighter that is 20-0, right? Mm-hmm. Your opponent's going to want $20,000, $30,000. I'm not going to pay $30,000 for your opponent, and then you want $10,000. That's a $40,000 fight. There's no way. I'm not going to put one fight for $40,000 because I need 6 more fights. That's a $100,000 event. I just can't do that, right? So that fight automatically just doesn't make sense, right? But okay, if you're 1-0, 2-0, okay, then I can work with that. Now, then I got to figure out. Well, I got 30 fighters. They call me, they DM me every time. Put me on your show. Put me on your show. Okay, then I got to see. Okay, this fighter, he's promoting himself. He's pushing himself. He has a good following. He's pushing ticket sales, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, I'm gonna give him an opportunity. I don't care where you're from. I don't care, who you are, how good you are. I don't care if you lost. You can be 0-3. Mm-hmm. If you push yourself, you sell tickets, you have a good following, and you promote yourself, you promote the show, I'm good. Nowadays, as a promoter, my job is to promote the show and promote the fight. I have to promote the fighter nowadays because they don't even want to promote themselves, and these fighters don't realize, bro, you have to promote yourself. If you don't promote yourself, you're not going to go nowhere. You might as well retire. Don't even fight. The game has changed. Me and you were at the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight. Mm-hmm. I literally was talking with a big promoter there. I'm not going to name no names.
Right.
He had a conversation with me, and I had a conversation with him, and I told him, I said, hey, so be honest. What's going on with y'all and your promotional company? He's like, we're not signing anybody. He said, we're evaluating all our talent, and we're letting go of people that we know are not going to make it, and then everybody else, we're going to figure out all the contract situations and go from there. Nobody is signing fighters anymore. They're not. And fighters got to realize that. You got to promote and sell yourself. If not, you're screwed. And now all these fighters have to rely on us smaller promoters like me and all the other guys to build up the record. So I'm being serious and honest. You got to do a better job on social media. If you're not good at social media, you better get your girlfriend, your dad, your mom, your sister, your cousin to help you promote. I don't care if it's every other day, whatever, because if not, you're not going to make it. Because if you don't sell, I don't care how good you're talented. You can be the best in the world. It's not going to happen.
Speaking of that, I've watched a lot of fighters coming up, and I think boxing's probably the biggest sport where parents are involved, especially fathers. So how have you seen fathers affect young, hungry, talented fighters' lives, both positively and negatively in the industry?
Look, I think, and I speak from experience, my father was my trainer.
Right.
It is beautiful to see a father and a son come together in a sport. Boxing is the hardest sport in the world. It has been proven for, I think, the 30th year in a row for boxing being the hardest sport in the world. Especially if you're new to this sport, whether it's a father and a son, you better have somebody within your team with experience to help you out. Do not do this alone. Even though as confident, as much as you believe that you have it, bring somebody within the team that has experience to help you and guide you along the way. Because there's so many things that you don't realize. Boxing is so much different. Like boxing, I tell you, I've been around this game so many times, and I see somebody's been there 10, 15 years, and I'm like, bro, like you have no idea what this game's about. There's the boxing, and the boxing game, the sporting side and the business side is two different. It's two different animals, right?
How have you seen fathers affect fighters?
I've seen it positively, where it encourages them, and then I see it negatively.
You see it a lot.
Yes, and I got to tell you something. when everything's going great and good, awesome. I've seen it when, oh shit, you're losing. What do we do? I'm panicking. Oh, I got a big old cut. What do I do? That's when shit hits the fan. That's what I'm saying is you need somebody in your team that can take over when your father is stuck in mud, right? Because like I said, when you're talented, you're great, and everything's going perfect, okay, we're good. But when things are not going your way, you need somebody to help. And like I said, when your father's there, great, you need somebody there, but you need somebody to take over when you hit that little speed bump.
Have you seen any fathers do it right?
I mean, to a certain extent, but then there's always controversy, right? I mean, you've seen it time and time again. Like, there's great people, they get to a certain level, and then they have their issues. You don't need to name no names, but, you know, Sean Porter did an amazing job with his dad, but I think after a while he retired. He's like, man, I just can't do it no more. Got burned out, et cetera, et cetera. You know, some fathers are really good at being able to divide their father and the trainer, right? Being able to take that, separate that from the gym and home, and then some fighters are not. Boxing's very egotistical, right? And as a fighter, as a trainer, as a coach, and a lot of dads don't know how to separate that. Same thing with fighters. You know, one thing about when I was fighting, my dad was very hard on me. But one thing about my dad would tell me, like, you're the boss. Like, business-wise, you're the boss. You decide what you want. If you want to do whatever you want to do, if you want to fight this guy, you make the final decision. And that's one thing I would tell all fighters. If you're not in control of your fucking career, you should retire. If you have your dad, your coach, your manager, your advisor, or your promoter in control, no. You should have the final say. They should be there to help you, to give you the best option and advise you, but you should have the final say. If you like, oh, no, whatever they want, you're not going to make it. You should retire. This is an alpha sport.
At any age?
I mean, once you go pro, you're 18, 17, 18-year-old, you should be able to know better. Like, this is a dog-eat-dog world. And if you're not there, you're not there. You're not there. You're not going to make it. You're going to get eaten alive. It's that simple. And that's just reality. And I've seen it. I've seen it where I'm like, no, talk to my coach. Talk to my, like, I'm like, bro, you are the fighter. Like, I get it. Like contract-wise, language-wise, you need your manager, you need a promoter. Okay, great. That's awesome. I get it. But you are the top dog. You make the final decision. And some fighters hide from all that stuff, and they hide behind their managers and contract.
Trusting someone else, you think that causes some of them to fail?
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. And that's just it's just realistic, and it makes it harder because then some like, I don't even want to say anything.
You got to be able to do more than fight. You got to be able to look out for your career.
Yeah, of course.
That's a lot of athletes that are young in all sports.
Yeah, because no matter what, your manager, your advisor, they're investing in you, and they're spending, whether they're spending money on you or time on you. Eventually, they're like, okay, I invested this money, I invested this time. Okay, it's time to pay up. It's a business, so they're gonna eventually sell you out, or they're gonna cash out, or they're going to leave you. It's just the way it goes. So you have to prepare for that. That's just business. So you can't be hurt or say, oh, that's messed up. You have to realize that's how it works. Mm-hmm. That's how business works. So you have to prepare for that. That's why you should be in charge of your career.
So did you see, as you were a fighter since you were, 6, 7? And then you went to the Olympics and you were missing school from 10 years old, in high school, and you were in the Olympics in 2008, and you were how old at the time?
16, 17, yeah.
16, 17 years old. So throughout all those different positions and places in your life and points that a lot of other people and 99% of other people in the world didn't go through, do you feel that affected you as you entered into adulthood being an entrepreneur? And how did that change your thinking as far as running a business and having a business partner? because you probably dealt with a lot of people that were trying to take advantage of you.
100%. That's why I am very direct. And I want to say I'm aggressive, but I guess I could seem aggressive. I'm to the point, right? Because that's how, yeah, I was,
Aggressive's good.
aggressive. I mean, you can speak to the people more than I can, right? Because you know me more than I probably know myself. Like, life molded me the way I am, right? What I went through my whole situation. That's why I am the way I am. I normally take charge, and I'm very direct and of what I want and how I want things ran. And now in this situation in business, and with you, it has helped me. Now, I also know how to adapt, right? I understand, like, now it's not just about me. Now that me and you are together, I have to learn how to adapt. Just in the boxing fight, you had to learn how to adapt, saying, hey, it's not just about me now, right? Now it's two people.
And
Now,
it's not just about us. It's also about our sponsors. So I want to take this opportunity to thank J. Alexander Law. J. Alexander Law and who else? City?
Cairo Sports Center, Irving, Texas. Thank you for your support.
Thank you guys so much for your support. If you haven't had a chance to look them up, please do so.
Thank you. For the people that don't know you, talk about yourself a little bit. Give us a little background about yourself and what you do.
I mean, that's always a tough thing to do without specific questions, but I guess if I were to give you a background of me, I've been a serial entrepreneur most of my life. I'm 41 years old. Literally never had a 9-to-5 job. I've done everything from, most of my life has been in sales and security, but since I was 18, I sold cars at 18 years old, 19 years old, got in the security business, got licensed with the state of Texas. I'm from Texas, only one of my family from Texas, everybody else is from Brooklyn, and literally started off on the hardware, software side of security with, cameras, alarms, access control, all that kind of stuff. You're familiar with some of that yourself. We didn't get into that, and then got into training and always been in a martial arts since I was little and loved psychology. Really started reading when I was early 20s and started applying a lot of the things that I read into business and got into doing personal protection and bodyguarding. Got chosen to work with some high-profile clientele. Ended up doing private protection.
Wait, I gotta stop you there.
Yeah.
Weren't you somebody's personal trainer, a professional athlete, a really good athlete, by the way?
Talking about you?
Yeah, me.
Yeah.
I mean, before you were all that.
Yeah. So I used to work out at LA Fitness, and because of my sales background, I used to barter a lot since I was in college. I ended up getting a degree in business management, but I'm not going to say I even learned anything from college. But unfortunately, however, when I was in college, I bartered a lot. I used to have a goal when I was young, as a kid, when I was in high school, that when I got older as an adult, I wanted to be able to have the most experiences I could possibly have in life without spending any money. I just felt like, for some reason, I don't know where I saw it, I don't know where I read it, but I wanted to be able to barter and negotiate to be able to have as many experiences as possible without spending any money.
Willie Dale.
And I lived up to that to a certain extent. Like now, today, a lot of what I do, I can remember my parents asked me, how could you afford to do that? How did you do that? How did you do that? And it was just from relationships and me taking care of other people, and they took care of me. But speaking of what you asked me, I was training at a major corporate gym, LA Fitness, and I mean, I'm not going to say.
Not a sponsor.
I'm not going to say the location because, I don't want to get in trouble or anything. But they used to give me a desk and a phone and let me get on the phone and make some calls and get them some more memberships. And in return, they gave me access to be able to use their room to be able to train people in boxing and like do some training and whatnot. They looked at me as like the boxing guy, like when I come to LA Fitness. And one of the guys at the front desk told me one day that there's a guy here who's a very high level boxer who's like best of the best, so on and so forth. And they said all this stuff. Like, you got to meet him. And I was like, hey, next time he's here, let me know. And I had no idea who this guy was, who they were talking about.
Who's this Mexican guy?
They didn't even say this dude was Mexican, you know. But I came in the gym. It was like maybe a month and a half later, and they said, "Hey, that guy that we're talking about, he's here." I'm like, "Where's he at?" They're like, "He's in the racquetball courtroom." I'm like, "Okay." And actually, being a natural introvert, I don't know what compelled me to do this, but I just walked in the room. They're all like, the guy was in here training. He was with like his uncle and some family members and some people. And he's like, we're doing mitt work. And I just walked in and started watching them. And they're all looking at me like, who are you?
Who's this big old 6'4" black guy looking at
us?
What
are you doing?
What are you doing here?
Yeah.
Can I help you?
Long story short, like I watched for a second. Like we talked. We had some questions. I talked to people in the room. And at the time, I was living in Irving at an apartment community that had a boxing ring, that had heavy bags, that had equipment, all this stuff. And I had just become the personal trainer for the property. So I had access to all this stuff. And we talked, and we ended up becoming friends. And he ended up training at the place that I lived, which was very close by. And that was you. And that's how we met.
You're one of the few people that I know that started a company, again, from scratch, to make it very successful within 2 years, to make very high profit. And again, we're not going to go number-wise how much, because I know people are very interested, and there's people out there that are fans and haters out there. But before we get into the details on your security and protective services, I want to get into specifics of what you've done, right? I want to get in first. I know you've done special bodyguarding. Mm-hmm. I want you to tell us about your specific detail with Stormy Daniels. I know you probably don't want to talk about it too much, but I want you to give us what you can say about that.
Well, honestly, I can't say much because this isn't an industry that we get on camera and we disclose private information. Like, it's to a certain extent, there's an oath as a security professional that you take. I mean, obviously, for you to even bring up a client's name and say someone like Stormy Daniels, it's okay because it was already very public information. We were in front of the New York Times. I was in front of the Wall Street Journal.
American Greed.
I was in a lot of TV shows and publications with Stormy over 2018, a certain period of time. However, Stormy's an amazing person. Love her. She's great. However, you know, as a client and as a person. But I can't really disclose and get into details as far as me working with her. But what was the specific question?
So what did you learn from that experience?
What did I learn from working with her?
Absolutely, 100%.
Oh, well, that was a different type of detail that a lot of people in my profession don't necessarily get to do. It was very unexpected in the way that it even happened. There's so many different types and different aspects to private protection and personal security and so on and so forth in the security world. It's a very big industry. A lot of people do security with clients that nobody's ever heard of. And sometimes it's clients that nobody's ever heard of until something happens, like the CEO of the healthcare industry that was killed. And doing personal protection for a celebrity client that is a worldwide and household name versus a client that is just wealthy is two totally different type of clients that you're going to work with. The things that I learned working with a celebrity client in 2018 was, for one, that, you know, I mean, your privacy isn't that private, depending on who you're working with. But at the same time, the industry, there's not a lot of room for error in the industry. Like, you have to be on point. Right now in my company, I staff security all over Dallas-Fort Worth. Our number one rule is don't get too comfortable. And it's easy to do that. It took maybe one time for that to happen to me, for a mentor to be able to reach out to me privately and remind me, don't get too comfortable, before it really sank in, and it's become really a motto for me now, especially in everything that I do, but it's things that have a spotlight. So
how long were you in that detail, and how did that affect your personal life?
I was in the detail for about 15 months, like about a year.
Damn.
It affected my personal life a lot more than I realized until I was not in it anymore. But whenever you're on a private security detail, the client's the most important thing anyway. So you're not really thinking about your personal life as much. It's something that's
What about me?
more so on the back burner. I know I still owned a gym at the time, so it's probably very difficult for you with me being out of town and me being gone, for you having to run things, and for me not to be as big of a factor and assistant and a help and a contribution.
In a business relationship, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes a certain individual within the business relationship has to take over. Why? Because maybe the other person is not available. Maybe he is off, sick, injured, or he's doing something else. And this certain individual has to take over, has to take the most of the burden, most of the hardship of the business, take over, grow it, take most of the burden, the hardship, until the other partner is ready to come back and help it grow. Now, sometimes it can be hard, sometimes it can be stressful, but it is part of growing, just like in a marriage, right? Until you're ready, but it's part of the trust process in order to grow.
But I think that's part of the difference between me and you and other partnerships. Because in a marriage, the goal to me is togetherness, where you have two people that are working on making sure the relationship is strong, making sure they stay together forever. Because they have to deal with financial difficulties, like personality clashes, psychological, all different types of difficulties. In a business, even though it's similar to a marriage, I think the goal is financial gain, and the goal is monetary. And so, still within that relationship, you still have to deal with a lot of similar challenges. A lot of similar challenges with cheating and just like dishonesty and all different types of things that you have to deal with. And often, it's not because a business partnership is failing monetarily that causes people to split and causes the business to mess up. I think more often than not that it's because the business is doing too well, and because the success of the business and the difference mentally, psychologically within dealing with success causes problems with a business partnership in monetary gain. Now, in our case, I think that we've been able to maintain a partnership for a decade, 10 years or longer, is because we ran into problems, don't get me wrong, that we could discuss and we could share,
Yeah.
and things could get like really like into detail.
Every day.
And like there's at least 2 times in the last 10 years where both of us probably weren't even sure whether or not we were going to continue as partners.
100%.
But the thing that sustained us in this partnership, I recognize, was because we care. I know I do, and I could recognize that you do care more about each other as people than we do about money.
Yeah. We're not money hungry. I think that's the main thing. We're not money hungry people, right? We don't see money before our customers and our clients. I think we're
We
more
don't see money before us.
us, exactly. Like we will rather lose money and make sure our people, our brand, our legacy is before the money, right? And I think that's what is keeping sweatboxing alive. And so many people have came to us, and you can testify this, and I can, that people came to us like they would have killed themselves if it wasn't for sweatboxing. And
that's a big statement, but in all honesty, I think
true.
it's one that changed my life because I had at least 3 clients over the course of the last 10 years that told me specifically that had it not been for the gym, and this was a big testament to COVID, because when the gym was in a position where it should have shut down like a lot of other businesses and a lot of other gyms, and I recognized that I did not want to keep the gym open, and you did not want to keep the gym open because of us, because of whatever we're dealing with financially or anything else. But we wanted to look at our clientele and see if the gym was something that needed to be something that continued in the community. And I've had at least 3 clients personally that told me that if it had not been for the gym, that they would have committed suicide. It made me look at fitness completely differently.
100%.
It made me look at my clients. It made me look at my industry. It made me look at my business differently. That I'm providing something for the community that is not just providing revenue and income, jobs and everything else, but it's keeping people alive. And it's sustaining the mental and psychological health and not just physical health of some of the people that are in the community and some of the people that are our clients.
No, and I 100% agree with you because that's certainly, like I said, I've had people come up to me like you have no idea what sweat boxing does for us. Like it physically challenges us, but mentally keeps me in check, and that's why I am surviving. Mm-hmm. And life is hard as it is, but sweat boxing challenges me and makes me happy. And our classes and our 24-hour membership and everything that we provide, it really interacts with our members. And I'm not trying to hype us up or anything like that, but that's just being honest.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, keeping in track what we're talking about, you have been very successful with your company. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of people that are very interested with your past, okay?
Okay.
And talking about partnership, we've had a very healthy partnership. You are my brother. You're not my friend. You're my brother. I pretty much know everything about you. We have a really healthy relationship. We had our ups or downs. I remember when we had no money. I've given you my last dollar when you had no money, vice versa when I had no money.
Yeah.
And we don't have to get into details. Yeah. Now, at one point you were very successful. You had another company. You had another business partner, security partner, right? It used to call the firm. Mm-hmm. I want you to get into that and tell us a little bit about what happened more in detail, because you were very successful. You had a big clientele that everybody knows, right? It was Dave Chappelle, and it was worldwide. I was there. I was invited to all the after parties. Amazing. Dave Chappelle is an amazing person. He was so genuine. It treated us like family. But there was a lot of things that happened behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know, and they're very interested in what happened. And I think it's time for people to know your side of the story. So I'm going to leave the floor to you and see what you tell the people.
Well, we had, in my former security company, over 100 security officers in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We're also staffing out of state. And just like any other partnership, like we just said, it's like a marriage where you have clashes, you have things where you don't get along. And I'm not going to mention any names. I'm not going to say who my partner was. I'm not going to get into the details of...
But it was. I don't want to interrupt you, but it was just two of y'all.
It was two of us. Yeah.
It was two head dogs.
Yeah, it was two of us.
Okay, just so we're clear.
Yeah, absolutely.
My bad. I'm an asshole.
No, you're fine. And there's a lot of people that wonder what did happen. And
of course.
And I'm one that like...
You're very political.
Because just like any relationship, things can happen, and people cannot agree, and difficulties can arise where you don't see eye to eye, you're not on the same page. The problem with all that is, in a business partnership, that unfortunately someone can be done wrong, and it can be beyond disagreements. There could be, just like in a marriage, there can be lies, there can be infidelity, there can be deception, there can be stealing, there can be all these other different things. And in my case, I was done wrong. And I don't want to get into a lot of details, but at the same time, it taught me some things. And at the time, I was doing probably like 90% of the work, running the operations, like coming up with the ideas, writing all the protocol, coming up with the numbers and financial data for everything, and writing contracts and doing everything you could possibly think of when it comes to business. And I allowed, which is a very important word to highlight, I allowed some things to happen to me, which ultimately helped me. Like, yes, I had a situation where I had a partner that lied on me, and not just to my employees, but to people that I was working with in business partnerships, that caused a lot of anxiety for me, caused me
And it
to
affected you?
wonder what people. It was the first time. It was actually the first time I ever dealt with anxiety in my life.
Yeah.
Like I come from, I used to look at other people that had anxiety and like wonder
What the fuck is wrong with you?
yeah, what's wrong with you?
Like, what the fuck is with
Are you
anxiety?
good?
Are you
Like,
good?
just take a deep breath. You'll be all right. Until I dealt with some anxiety myself, and I'm like having shortness of breath and like waking up and like thinking, contemplating like life differently. And it was crazy because we're building a business, and there was so many people that knew who I was, and I was concerned about what they thought about me because I wasn't raised like I was raised in a way to like put other people first and take care of other people.
Yeah.
And I never been in a position for anybody to question my character, and that really taught me some things. Because while I was in the background, like literally trying to run everything and allow somebody else to be the face of things, the way I even found out from one of the business owners that we were working with that told me certain things that were going on behind my back, from the people that work with us to the people that we work with, I learned a few different things that ultimately God blessed me, and I rose above that, and I was able to become stronger and build a bigger and better business than what I had before when I had a partner. That's what's most important. But some of the lessons I learned out of that was, possibly in the words of Les Brown, being humble doesn't mean hiding. And if you don't let your silence write the story of someone else's success. Because honestly, if you're doing the work, it's important to let the world know that you're the one that's holding things together.
There you go.
Because honestly, the truth is, you can't win in the shadows. You can't.
Yeah.
Like, every great partnership has two stars. Not one person in the spotlight and another person that gets left literally in the background.
Get a jab in the right hand, baby.
Like, all good partnerships fall when credit isn't shared. And I learned to not just be in the background, but now in my new company, I'll share the spotlight with the people that deserve
Deserve it.
and are putting in the work, but I speak at every meeting, and it's important, even if I have an introverted personality, for me to speak up and to let people know who is the mind and the voice and everything behind the driving force in the company that we have.
Beautiful.
And not to mention, in any other partnership that I have, it's important to recognize, and I don't say this very much about you, but as prideful and as much as I know that you're the opposite of that, and it's important for you to know from the jump, that everybody know who it is that is running things, I also commend the fact that even if you feel that I have a small part to play in it, that when it comes time for you to get accolades and awards and recognition, that you're quick to shine a light on me too and bring me up to let people know that I had a part to play in it, even if it was just a motivation.
And the reason is, and I'll tell you this, is I work really hard, and it's not about me. I work really hard for what I want. Like, I live by a model: work hard for what you want, work harder for what you want to get. But I want my people that's around me to be successful, and I want you to be right there with me, if not above me. And I see how successful you are, and of course, I want the credit for you and what you're doing. So my question to you is: obviously, you went through your hardship with your first company. So, with your first company, how many people stayed with you?
So we had.
So how many people did you have?
That's tough. This is
no. How many people? No. Let's be honest. Be hardcore.
Yeah.
How many people did you have to start with? How many people stayed with you?
So, in that particular company, I mean, within 2 years, we built up to over 100. We built up to over 100 contractors, employees that were working with us.
Okay.
And when I split, and I started over, I had about 4 or 5.
So you had over 100, and only 4 or 5 stayed with you.
Yeah. But over the course of that time, going into the 3rd year of business now, some of the people that didn't stay with me, I had a good portion of those people contact me and like apologize for
No.
However,
no, that doesn't count. That doesn't count. They left. You had 4 people stay with you.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And now that you have your new company, how many people you have with your new company?
Well, I got like double or triple what I had before. I got
how many people you have with your new company?
Close to 300, yeah, now.
That's what I'm talking about, right? Yeah. Because you do what you have to do. You're honest. You're respectful. You do the right thing, and now you're on the top. And that's what I admire and I love and respect about you. And that's why you're my business partner, and obviously you have your business, I have my business, and then we have our business together, and that's why we continue to grow. And that's what's beautiful about it. And that's why I respect you.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
All right, so what has sweatboxing done for you?
Sweatboxing has been a journey for me, and it's helped me in a lot of different ways, but it's also been in contribution to my debt. So, we've been open for 10 years, and that is a milestone in and of itself. And it's taught me a lot about marketing. It's taught me a lot about finance, growth, business partnership, all that kind of stuff. But in reality, like being in this new gym, and we shouldn't even be here. Like all the doubt and the haters that we had moving in here and everything that we needed to overcome, just like people think about a business, they've never ran a business and they've never had to get like a CO. They've never had to get like approved through the city for any sort of licensing or anything else. Construction. They don't know anything about that. They don't know anything about having the fire marshal come out and approve them for
parking lights.
Yeah, they just think you own a business, you make a whole bunch of money, and they don't know anything. And Sweat has taught me to overcome challenges. Like, period. We have overcome more challenges than most people will face and have faced. And that's part of just being a business owner, man, being an entrepreneur.
But what about the brand, knowing that?
But beyond that, that's not what this podcast is even about. People are tuning into this podcast because they want to know about the difficulties between a business partnership and what makes a business partnership work and whether or not they should get in one
or if you not. Like me. Do you like me?
All of that stuff. So in reality, the real question is, would you do this again? You've been doing this for 10 years now with Sweat as a business. And we're saying all this, yeah, this is great. We've done this, we've done that. But would you do this again by yourself? That's the question I want to know, because I wouldn't. Would you do this again by yourself? Be honest.
No.
Do you think you could do it better? Would you do Sweat boxing and training again by yourself if you had the opportunity to?
The reality is...
The who? Was that English?
English, Spanish, whatever you want to call it. being in a business relationship with a partner is a marriage. It's a good chance it's going to fail. 100%. We have been blessed that ours has been successful and grateful. We had our ups and downs, but ours has worked.
So, yeah, yes or no? Would you do it by yourself?
Ours has worked. Will it ever work in a different world? I don't think it will ever work again, but ours have worked. Would I ever do it somewhere else with somebody else? No, I would never do that. Ours worked. I cannot tell somebody else, don't do it or do it.
I mean,
do it at your own risk.
You have people to ask you for advice?
Yeah, of course.
So if somebody came to you and they were young, they were in early 20s, and they said, hey, you know what? I'm looking at opening a gym myself, and there's a guy that I want to partner with. He's a friend or he's not a friend? He's a friend or he's not a friend?
I'll be like, don't do a gym.
But you said don't do a gym?
Absolutely not.
But if he asked you and he said, I need to know the 3 most important things about starting a business and having a partner, hold on, what would you tell him?
Don't do a gym.
Cut. Part 2.